A wise man is not ruled by desire, appearances, or fleeting emotions. He is ruled by reason. Many older men mistake youth for happiness, beauty for character, and attraction for lasting peace. But Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the greatest victories are won not over others, but over ourselves. Today we'll explore why chasing youth without wisdom often leads to regret, and what every man should understand before making decisions driven by impulse rather than virtue. Desire has a quiet way of convincing a man that what he wants in the moment is more important than what he will respect in the future. It does not arrive as an obvious enemy. It often disguises itself as excitement, hope, or the promise of happiness. A man who has lived for many years may believe that experience alone protects him from poor decisions. Yet even the most experienced person can become vulnerable when desire begins to speak louder than reason. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself that the greatest challenge was not controlling other people or changing circumstances, but governing his own mind. The battle was always internal, because every external mistake first begins as an internal surrender. When an older man becomes captivated by someone much younger, the first danger is not the relationship itself. The first danger is the story he begins telling himself. He starts believing that this opportunity is different from every other temptation he has encountered. He convinces himself that his feelings are proof of destiny rather than evidence of emotional excitement. Instead of examining reality, he begins protecting the fantasy. The mind becomes less interested in truth and more interested in preserving the pleasure that imagination creates. Reason asks difficult questions. Desire avoids them. Reason wants evidence, while desire only wants possibilities. A wise man pauses to observe his own emotions before acting on them. He understands that intense feelings are often temporary visitors, not reliable advisors. Marcus Aurelius believed that every impression entering the mind should be examined before being accepted. Just because something appears attractive does not mean it deserves pursuit. Just because something feels exciting does not mean it leads toward peace. Many people assume desire is strongest in youth, but desire does not disappear with age. It simply changes its appearance. A younger man may chase excitement because he seeks experience. An older man may chase excitement because he fears losing it forever. The motivations become different, but the emotional force remains powerful. Sometimes age brings wisdom, but sometimes it only brings greater skill at justifying emotional decisions. A person can use decades of intelligence not to discover truth, but to invent convincing excuses for doing exactly what he already wants to do. This is why self-awareness matters more than intelligence. A brilliant mind without discipline becomes an excellent lawyer for its own weaknesses. It can defend almost any decision if desire is allowed to write the argument first. Marcus Aurelius warned himself never to become a servant of impulses. He recognized that the human mind has an extraordinary ability to transform selfish wants into noble-sounding reasons. What begins as physical attraction suddenly becomes a search for happiness. What begins as vanity becomes a quest for personal freedom. What begins as insecurity becomes a story about following the heart. Desire narrows vision. It focuses attention on what is pleasurable while pushing uncomfortable realities into the background. An older man may notice admiration, affection, or excitement, yet overlook differences in life experience, expectations, priorities, and emotional development. His attention becomes selective. He notices every sign that confirms his hopes while ignoring every warning that challenges them. This is not because reality has changed, but because desire has altered perception. Marcus Aurelius understood that perception shapes action. If the mind sees clearly, actions become balanced. If perception becomes distorted, even intelligent people make foolish choices. Therefore, the Stoic practice begins not by changing the world, but by correcting the lens through which the world is viewed. Every emotional impulse should be examined carefully. Ask whether the attraction comes from genuine respect or from loneliness. Ask whether admiration is rooted in character or appearance. Ask whether the decision reflects wisdom or merely satisfies a temporary craving. Many older men believe they are immune to emotional confusion because they have experienced success, failure, love, and disappointment. Yet emotional vulnerability often increases when people become isolated, nostalgic, or uncertain about the future. A person who once felt confident may suddenly seek external validation to reassure himself that he remains valuable. Attention from youth can feel intoxicating because it appears to restore something that time has slowly taken away. The admiration becomes less about the other person and more about escaping the fear of aging. Marcus Aurelius would likely encourage a man to examine that fear rather than hide from it. Aging is part of nature. No amount of attention can reverse it. No admiration can stop time. The attempt to escape reality only creates greater suffering because reality always returns. Wisdom begins the moment a man stops fighting what cannot be changed and starts mastering what can. He cannot control the passage of years, but he can control the quality of his character. Desire often speaks the language of urgency. It insists that opportunities are rare and must be seized immediately. It creates pressure where none truly exists. A man who normally exercises patience suddenly fears hesitation. He worries that waiting will cost him happiness. Yet Marcus Aurelius repeatedly emphasized the importance of slowing the mind before making decisions. Impulsive action usually serves emotion rather than reason. Time reveals what excitement tries to conceal. The emotional high created by desire can resemble clarity, but they are not the same thing. Excitement creates confidence without evidence. Clarity produces confidence after examination. One is emotional intensity, while the other is thoughtful understanding. These experiences may feel similar, yet they lead to very different outcomes. The Stoic seeks clarity because it remains steady even after emotions settle. Desire fades, truth remains. A disciplined man learns to separate appreciation from attachment. He can recognize beauty without becoming controlled by it. He can admire youth without believing he must possess it. He understands that appreciation is peaceful while attachment often becomes restless. Desire whispers that happiness depends upon acquiring something outside oneself. Wisdom reminds him that lasting peace begins within. The more happiness depends upon external circumstances, the more fragile it becomes. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that external things possess only the importance people assign to them. Attraction is real, but its power depends upon the judgment attached to it. If the mind declares something essential for happiness, suffering begins whenever it seems out of reach. If the mind recognizes it as merely one experience among countless others, emotional balance remains intact. This freedom comes not from suppressing emotions but from understanding them. An older man should ask himself whether his choices reflect the man he has spent decades becoming. Every year of life offers opportunities to develop patience, restraint, humility, and discernment. These qualities should become stronger with time, not weaker. Experience should refine judgment rather than merely increase confidence. There is little value in living many years if each important decision continues to be governed by the same unchecked impulses. Desire frequently encourages comparison. It invites a man to measure himself against younger people, seeking reassurance that he still competes successfully. This competition rarely produces peace because someone younger, stronger, or more attractive will always exist. Marcus Aurelius rejected unnecessary comparisons because they distract from the only meaningful contest, becoming better than one's previous self. The energy spent proving worth to others could instead strengthen character. The search for external validation is endless because no compliment permanently satisfies insecurity. Attention fades, admiration changes, circumstances shift. A man who depends upon these things constantly needs more of them. His emotional stability becomes to factors beyond his control. Stoicism teaches that peace emerges when self-respect grows from actions consistent with virtue rather than reactions from strangers. Desire also creates idealized images. Instead of seeing another person as a complete human being with strengths, flaws, ambitions, fears, and limitations, the mind reduces them to a symbol of happiness. This unrealistic expectation places tremendous pressure on both people. No human being can permanently fulfill another person's emotional fantasies. Eventually, reality interrupts imagination, and disappointment follows. The problem often lies not in the person, but in the illusion that surrounded them. Marcus Aurelius avowed himself to strip appearances down to their essential nature. Behind every attractive face is another human being navigating life's uncertainties. Behind every charming conversation exists an ordinary person with struggles, imperfections, and changing emotions. Seeing reality clearly protects the mind from exaggeration. It replaces fantasy with honesty and impulse with perspective. Emotional discipline does not require denying attraction. Stoicism never demands becoming emotionless. Instead, it teaches becoming emotionally responsible. Feelings may arise naturally, but actions remain choices. A wise man accepts his emotions without becoming enslaved by them. He observes them, questions them, and decides whether they deserve influence over his behavior. This distinction between feeling and action changes everything. Many people believe that strong emotions justify immediate decisions. Marcus Aurelius would argue the opposite. Strong emotions require greater caution because their intensity increases the likelihood of distorted judgment. Calm reflection provides a more reliable foundation than emotional excitement. Desire often promises transformation. It whispers that one relationship, one experience, or one exciting change will finally create lasting fulfillment. Yet history repeatedly demonstrates that internal dissatisfaction rarely disappears through external acquisitions alone. The same restless mind simply attaches itself to a different object. Without self-examination, patterns repeat regardless of circumstances. The Stoic path encourages confronting dissatisfaction directly. Instead of asking what another person can provide, ask what inner weakness seeks satisfaction. Is it loneliness, fear, regret, pride, insecurity? Once identified, these deeper issues become opportunities for growth rather than reasons for impulsive action. Lasting solutions emerge through understanding, not distraction. Older age offers something far more valuable than youthful excitement. It offers perspective earned countless experiences. Every disappointment teaches discernment. Every mistake provides instruction. Every hardship reveals resilience. Throwing away these lessons for temporary emotional intensity diminishes the very wisdom time has worked to create. Experience should become a compass, not merely a collection of memories. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly returned to the idea that a man's greatest possession is his own character. Wealth can disappear, health can weaken, reputation can change overnight, relationships evolve. Only character remains fully within personal responsibility. Every decision either strengthens or weakens that foundation. Therefore, the question is never simply whether something is desirable. The deeper question is whether pursuing it aligns with the kind of man one wishes to become. Desire measures success by immediate satisfaction. Wisdom measures success by lasting integrity. One asks, "What do I want right now?" The other asks, "What decision will I respect years from now?" These questions often produce different answers. A disciplined life requires the courage to choose long-term peace over short-term pleasure whenever they conflict. The mind grows stronger each time it refuses to surrender automatically to impulse. Every act of restraint becomes evidence that reason still governs emotion. This is not a loss of freedom, but an expression of it. A slave obeys every impulse without resistance. A free man chooses his actions deliberately, guided by principles rather than passions. Marcus Aurelius understood that true power never comes from controlling circumstances or possessing desirable things. It comes from maintaining authority over one's own judgments, choices, and inner life regardless of whatever temptations happen to appear before him. Age is often mistaken for wisdom, but the passing of years alone teaches nothing unless a man is willing to learn from them. Time gives everyone experience, yet experience only becomes wisdom when it is examined with honesty. Marcus Aurelius understood this distinction better than most. Although he ruled one of the greatest empires in history, he never assumed that authority, status, or age automatically made him wise. Instead, he reminded himself daily that every decision should be guided by reason, self-discipline, and virtue. An older man should never believe that his years alone guarantee good judgment. His choices must prove that the lessons of life have truly taken root. Growing older brings responsibilities that extend beyond personal success. Society naturally expects maturity from those who have traveled further through life. Younger people often look toward older generations for guidance, stability, and perspective. This expectation does not exist because older individuals are perfect, but because they have had more opportunities to witness the consequences of different choices. Every mistake, every victory, every disappointment, and every challenge should become a teacher. If those lessons are ignored, then age becomes nothing more than the accumulation of birthdays rather than the development of character. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that every action reflected the kind of person he was becoming. He believed that each day presented another opportunity to strengthen virtue or surrender to weakness. This mindset becomes even more important as a man grows older. Youth often receives understanding for impulsive behavior because inexperience naturally leads to errors. Age carries a different expectation. A mature man should increasingly demonstrate patience instead of haste, restraint instead of indulgence, and clarity instead of confusion. One of the greatest advantages of age is perspective. A younger person often sees life through the intensity of the present moment. Success feels permanent. Failure feels endless. Love appears absolute. Rejection seems unbearable. Time gradually reveals that most emotional storms eventually pass. The older man has lived long enough to know that today's excitement may become tomorrow's regret, and today's disappointment may become tomorrow's lesson. This perspective should create calm rather than urgency. It should encourage thoughtful reflection before important decisions. Unfortunately, some men mistake confidence for wisdom. Confidence can exist without understanding. A person may feel certain while being completely mistaken. Marcus Aurelius recognized that humility protects the mind from this danger. He frequently questioned his own judgments because he understood that every human being is capable of error. The older a man becomes, the more valuable humility grows. Without it, experience transforms into arrogance rather than insight. True maturity is revealed not by how loudly a man speaks, but by how carefully he listens. Age should reduce the need to impress others. A mature individual understands that personal worth does not depend upon constant recognition or approval. Years of living should gradually free him from the endless pursuit of validation. Instead of asking how others see him, he begins asking whether his own conscience remains at peace. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly focused on this inner standard rather than public opinion. He believed that external praise carried little value if one's character remained weak. Impulse often promises immediate satisfaction while hiding long-term consequences. Youth naturally feels attracted to instant gratification because the future seems distant. Age should reverse this pattern. A mature man has already witnessed enough life to understand that many of the best rewards require patience. Careers develop slowly. Trust grows gradually. Strong families require consistent effort. Character is built one decision at a time. These realities teach that enduring success rarely arrives through impulsive action. Self-control becomes increasingly valuable with age because opportunities to demonstrate it also increase. A younger man may struggle against ambition, insecurity, or emotional excitement. An older man often faces different temptations. He may fear becoming irrelevant. He may long to recapture youthful excitement. He may become uncomfortable with physical aging or changing circumstances. These emotional challenges can quietly influence decisions unless examined honestly. Marcus Aurelius encouraged constant self-observation because unnoticed emotions frequently shape behavior without permission. Wisdom requires the courage to ask uncomfortable questions. Why does a certain opportunity feel so important? Why does approval matter so deeply? Why does attention create such emotional satisfaction? These questions expose motivations that often remain hidden beneath the surface. Without honest examination, a man risks confusing emotional hunger with genuine purpose. Stoicism insists that motives deserve as much attention as actions because every action begins with an internal judgment. Age should also strengthen emotional stability. This does not mean becoming cold or indifferent. Rather, it means refusing to allow emotions to dominate judgment. Marcus Aurelius never argued against having feelings. He simply believed that emotions should inform decisions without controlling them. Anger, attraction, fear, excitement, and all deserve acknowledgement, but none deserve complete authority over reason. An older man possesses something that youth cannot purchase: memory. He remembers previous mistakes. He remembers opportunities that seemed perfect but later proved disappointing. He remembers relationships that looked promising yet gradually revealed unexpected difficulties. These memories become valuable only if they influence present choices. Otherwise, experience remains unused. Wisdom emerges when memory becomes instruction instead of nostalgia. Many individuals spend years repeating identical patterns while expecting different outcomes. They mistake repetition for growth simply because time has passed. Marcus Aurelius would likely reject this illusion. He believed that improvement requires deliberate effort. Character strengthens through conscious practice, not automatic aging. Every day offers another opportunity to replace unhealthy habits with disciplined ones. Without intentional reflection, old patterns quietly continue beneath the appearance of maturity. One remarkable quality of true wisdom is simplicity. As people mature, they often discover that life's deepest truths are surprisingly straightforward. Integrity matters more than appearance. Kindness outlasts charm. Discipline creates freedom. Gratitude produces greater peace than endless ambition. Honesty prevents countless complications. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly returned to these simple principles because lasting wisdom rarely depends upon complexity. It depends upon consistent application. Older age should also reduce emotional volatility. A mature person understands that not every thought deserves attention, not every feeling deserves action, and not every opportunity deserves pursuit. This ability to discriminate between passing impulses and meaningful values protects inner peace. The mind no longer reacts automatically to every external stimulus. Instead, it pauses, examines, and chooses deliberately. One reason impulse becomes dangerous is that it often disguises itself as courage. Acting quickly can appear bold, while careful reflection may seem hesitant. Marcus Aurelius viewed matters differently. He believed that genuine courage often requires resisting immediate desires. It takes strength to pause while emotions demand movement. It takes confidence to remain patient when excitement insists upon urgency. True bravery is demonstrated through mastery of rather than surrender to emotional pressure. As men age, they naturally accumulate responsibilities. Careers, families, friendships, communities, and personal reputations all become interconnected. Every important decision influences not only the individual but also those around him. Wisdom recognizes this broader impact. Impulsive choices frequently focus on personal satisfaction without considering wider consequences. Mature judgment expands the field of vision. It asks how today's actions may affect tomorrow's relationship. trust, and peace of mind. Marcus Aurelius frequently reflected upon impermanence.